Welcome to Mr. Marr History. In today's video, we will be discussing the National 5 History exam, specifically how to answer explain questions. Let's look at some background information to give you an idea of what you have to do. Explain questions will be worth 6 marks. You will get an explain question in all sections of the final exam, meaning 3 overall. The purpose of these questions is to explain why something happened, not simply to describe what happened, which is a common mistake people make. As has been noted, explain questions are worth 6 marks. You can get 1 mark for making a simple point. This is simply where you explain and identify one reason that an event took place. You can also gain a 2nd mark for a developed point. This is where you provide a piece of additional detail or perhaps an example which supports the simple point you've already made. One way to answer explain questions is to use the ABCD method. ABC is needed to gain 1 mark and the D is needed to gain a 2nd mark. In an ABC answer, you would begin by identifying your answer. This would start by naming the reason you're going to discuss and also using the wording of the question. It's really important that you use the wording of the question. Then, under our ABC method, you would simply state the word because. And finally, using C from ABC, you would give a comment. You would state exactly what impact the point you've made in your answer had on the question's topic. If you wish, you can also gain an extra mark by developing the point, which is where our D comes in. This is where you simply give an extra piece of evidence or an example which further supports your answer. Remember, each ABCD sentence must refer to the wording of the question. For example, if the question was explain why so many Scots moved abroad during the 1800s, you would introduce your answer like so. Poverty, being our answer, forced many Scots to move abroad during the 1800s because, and then you would go on to explain why this was the case. And here you can see specifically a reference to the question. Let's look at an example question. This one is drawn from the Cold War section, and it discusses the reasons that America were unable to win the Vietnam War. We begin using our ABCD method with the answer. Simply, the Viet Cong's actions meant that the USA were unable to win the Vietnam War, in other words, referring to the wording of the question. Then, using our ABCD method, we simply write the word because. And then, using our ABC, we make our comment. We explain that guerrilla tactics meant that US soldiers could never be sure when to expect an attack. In other words, we have explained why they were unable to win the war, not simply identified the reason. We can also gain a further point by developing this, by producing a piece of additional examples or detail to support the point just made. In this case, we've identified the specific tactics that the Viet Cong used, which would obviously have caused problems for the Americans. So far, we'd have gained 2 marks. 1 is for our explanation, which is the ABC part of our answer, and a 2nd point for developing the point, which is the D from our ABCD answer. Remember, it's not enough simply to identify the problem, you must explain why your answer affected the issue. For example, if you say, America struggled to win the Vietnam War because of the Viet Cong, you haven't actually explained why this stopped America winning the Vietnam War. You've got to do more and explain why. Stick to the ABC method. Let's look at our example in summary. We begin by stating our answer. We then go on to say because, and our comment is where we gain our 1st mark. We then develop this by making a 2nd point. There are 6 marks available overall. You could do 3 ABCD answers which would give 6 marks, or you could simply have 6 ABCs where you identify 6 different reasons, whatever the question happens to be. National 5 History exam, how to answer explain questions. It's really that simple.